What? He's all like, no, I don't be sick. No.
You gotta watch your mouth, man.
See, here
Yeah,
you go. See, he's like, there is a lady here, sir.
exactly, sir. I involved with no type of.
Drop it. I don't want to talk about it.
Drop it, hell. I want to hear about this, homie.
I said forget about it, cuz.
Fucking pay me!
Aunque digan que soy un bandolero donde voy, le doy gracias a Dios por hoy estar donde estoy y voy a seguir con mi tumbao.
I never saw that entrance.
Oh, our intro, yeah, the one I made for the show, yeah.
I love that.
And we're back, dude.
We're back.
I mean, we were just here, what, about 15, 16 hours ago? Yeah.
What y'all talking about before?
The leaked Mission Impossible trailer that came out last night.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, they took it down with the quickness, but I got it on my phone just in case.
Oh my god.
Well, no, because I made a trailer for the episode and put that on our Twitter but we're joined, as we had said last week. It was supposed to be last week, but scheduling with all of us kind of didn't work. But Mimi of Turnbuckle Talk and Black Wrestling could talk the Winning Time season finale. And the reason I asked Mimi to join us, because we've kind of covered the show since the start of the season. We had Simper BB on recently when we last covered episodes 7 and 8. Mm-hmm. But I've seen, since we were following each other, I've seen that you were talking about Succession. I think you might have been talking about Euphoria on Twitter, but also, I don't know who am I thinking
of. That's a trigger for me as a mom. It's a trigger.
No, I understand that. I had told my parents when I went and visited my parents, I saw that they were watching it, or my stepmom had said they were watching. I'm like, oh, I didn't want to recommend that to you because my stepbrothers are, one's in high school and the other's about to be in high school. I'm like, I don't think you guys need that nightmare fuel to live through it.
Yeah.
Even though it's from Minnesota, so we don't really have much to worry about in that way. But I've seen you talk about Succession on, HBO, and then you were watching Winning Time and tweeting along with it and all that. I'm like, oh, so you got to have Mimi on at some point. I figured what better point than the finale. And now we can talk about the series as a whole, the highs, the lows. What can we expect for season 2? But what was your overall impression of season 1, Mimi?
So I love when they do shows on real-time events.
Historical.
Historical events. I feel like that's history, but it's still new because it's only 30 years old or 40 years old.
40 at this point, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like, I was a Laker fan at one point. I feel like I still am a Laker fan a little bit. I just don't watch basketball anymore. I was a heavy Michael Jordan fan. So in 96, between 90 in the 90s, towards 2000 is when I stopped watching basketball. Even when he went over to the Washington Bullets, when they were the Bullets at the time.
Well, they had just become the Wizards at that point. Yeah.
Right. Wizards. Right,
yeah.
And
but I think they made that switch right when he was
right
joining.
Around that time. Yeah. So I had a roommate that she was part of their ticket sales or whatever. I lived in DC at the time. And even though we were getting him, I just wasn't into it anymore because there was just something about him playing basketball for Chicago. I always watched the games. I became a Jordan fan at the time, a sneakerhead at the time. So that was just my moment. And once he wasn't in white and red and black anymore, it just felt weird, but I still loved him. Mm-hmm. So he was always my favorite. So I feel like around that time, the Magic announcement had came out. And that's when I started looking at the Lakers a little bit, because that was a thing. So fast forward, into reality when now I'm an adult and I'm watching him as an adult and how his kids have grown up and how they're like Instagram famous. Him and Cookie are Instagram famous, and their kids had a show, I think, at one point, and I watched a few episodes of those. I'm not really into reality TV.
He's the owner of the Dodgers. He went to the Lakers management a few years ago. And Magic
I
Johnson's
heard about
still
that.
in.
I heard about that.
Yeah, he's still relevant. He's still Magic Johnson.
Right. And I always, my thing about my perception of Magic Johnson is that I felt like him and Michael Jordan did it correctly. We hear about all these athletes that get endorsement deals and or are, you know, playing sports, especially the football players. They play sports and then something happens and they have no money, like Warren Sapp. He's having to sell his ring, like just really bad things happen. They either go to commentary or they do what Jordan did, which maximize his whole like brand. He maximized his brand by going to the underdog, right? And now he's no longer the underdog, even in his time now, although I don't think that they have a relationship now, but still that Jordan brand is his brand. You know what I mean? It originated from him. And Magic Johnson with the movie theaters. Like he basically took his career, the money that he made, and knew that he needed to optimize outside of basketball because he's not going to be playing forever. So I've always admired his business acumen and how he just managed his life to be able to sustain outside of what he did for such a long time. So when I saw that,
Similar to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like there is life after wrestling. You can become an actor. You can start a tequila company. You can buy the XFL with your ex-wife and run that together. Yep.
That's right. You package everything for outside. So it feels like you have your retirement plan. Now this is like a second retirement plan that you can pass on, that your kids can take on from you. So I've always admired that piece of Michael Jordan.
And they're still competitive. These are competitive people at the end of the day. Like,
yeah.
The whole point of the show is that Magic Johnson, as much as he wants to be loved and liked by everyone, he wants to win.
Right,
he wants to prove he's
I'm
better
getting
than
that drip. Can I get to that drip?
No, I'm just saying that he wants to be better than Norm Nixon. He wants to be better than Larry Bird, and everyone's telling him he's not, or he won't be, or he smiles too much. But we know history because this has all happened. We know how this plays out. We're seeing this somewhat fictionalized. Again, like Phil Knight comes to him, he's like, "I want you." Who knows if that really happened or not? It could have. I never really looked into it because I looked at the pilot and then the show as a whole of like very, very like historical fiction. Like this is what could have happened, and the finale plays it well when he sees Larry Bird in his apartment, and Larry Bird's talking to him, and Larry Bird's like, "I'm you, dumbass. Like you're seeing me here. I'm not really here." And then he sees his mom and Cookie. It's him motivating himself because these are the people that are just constantly living in his brain.
Right. So
kind of like The Rock living in yours rent free.
Hey,
Cody Rhodes.
So as I was saying, leading up to that, I've always been fascinated with him, not necessarily with his game. So this was interesting to see. I wanted to understand, the aspect. So I went into it thinking that it was a Magic Johnson story, but it wasn't a Magic Johnson story. It was a Lakers story. And just seeing all the aspects of the drug use, the relations, just how they opened up the show was very powerful. And it made me as a parent feel like, thank God I'm not raising a child during this time, because it just reminds you of how drugs in the West Coast was so, it was profound everywhere, but I feel like there's something about watching movies portray the drug use around that time on the West Side of the country. It just felt like, because we weren't in it, like we have our own perception of what drug use looked like in on the East Coast, but I feel like when you step outside and you go to a Detroit, you go to like the poverty and the downtrodden is on another level because you're just not used to it. It's probably the same thing, but it's just different. And to see that you had money and you were still in that mindset was crazy to me. It was nuts. And seeing like a young kid with Bus being supposed to be his mentor, his boss, literally he put him in these types of positions, like to get him, number one, to play. You know what I mean? I think he mind fucked a lot of the kids that he wanted to draft, a lot of the players that he wanted to draft to join the Lakers. One, because he wanted to win. Two, because he was about to lose, you know what I mean? Financially and everything. And so it felt like, wow, you're an adult and you're like dangling these like sodomy in front of these children. And I'm not a holy roller, but it was just like, wow, the insight of how they drafted these kids and how they brought them into, you know, the league was pretty scary, you know? And the fact that they had like, it was easy playing field. Like people were outside, the chicks were lined up, the drug dealers were lined up, the pimps were lined up to make their lives better, but it didn't make their lives better. This situation impacted their life. And then was it Nelson with how he got kicked off?
Spencer Haywood. Yeah.
Haywood, sorry. Got kicked off to the team and just couldn't get himself right. Even with his kid. Like it was sad. That part of the story was sad for me because I look at the whole season holistically, and how everybody was fighting for what they believed in within their capacity. Like the coaches were fighting to stay and to win and to make an impact, right? Wes was constantly upset, like always upset.
That's the best part of the show is Jerry West. And even though his portrayal is by him personally, he didn't like how he was portrayed on the show.
I feel like I saw you say that or somebody else say that. Blake, one of my friends, Blake online, must have said that. He said Blake that West didn't like how he was portrayed. And I tried to look up, I couldn't really find anything, but I forgot that he was the silhouette on the NBA. Yeah. I completely forgot that silhouette was him. And so just to see him constantly angry, not want to have kids, like he was up, like he was just completely like.
And that second episode starts with like kind of like the history of his life. And when he finally wins, he doesn't know what to do because what's supposed to be like the pinnacle for him isn't, because he feels
it wasn't him.
Like he didn't earn it or didn't deserve it. Like,
but he did though. And I think that's
it's the thing. Like you can never be complacent. You can never be satisfied. And he gets to that point where like he knows he's not a good coach. Like he can't win. And that's the thing. When Bus is like, I'm giving you this this team, and you're afraid you're going to lose if once you have it. And Jerry was like, no, I'm just a horrible coach. And he had said it to him perfectly. And I love that scene where he's like, the reason I'm a shitty coach is because these guys aren't me. And what's worse is I can't be them. Because like if he's like, if I could, I'd suit up for you right now. I would, but I can't, and I can't try to make these guys me. And it's the Michael Jordan thing, like why he never tried to coach. Magic Johnson tried to coach, and he realized, like, yeah, I ain't wired to coach these guys.
Michael Jordan coached subliminally. He coached Kobe Bryant, and
in that aspect, yes, individually, but not as a whole team. Yeah,
no, I know, and that's why I'm just contradicting. I'm just saying. Yes, he did.
That aspect is correct. Yeah.
I feel like, but subliminally and low key, he coached Kobe. And that's why his death was so like impactful. He knew that this kid wanted to be him, and everybody knew that he wanted to be him and beat his mentor, like the person that was the end all be all. And in reality, like he provided guidance for him, you know? And so when I saw Jerry not necessarily go down the route that Michael Jordan went down, but you would think that even as a coach, you would find some success taking your team. Maybe I couldn't do it here, but maybe I can teach them how to get there, right? And he just
that's why he's like he doesn't want to draft him to begin with because he's like he smiles too much. And then Jerry West is like, well, it looks good on the billboard. He's like, the billboards don't fucking play basketball. He's like, this is a man's game. He
didn't understand. He only understood one part of it. He didn't understand the whole.
But then when he sees how he reacts after losing to the Sixers and Dr. J after the All-Star break, and he gives him that speech in the locker room, one of the best scenes where he's like, and he tells him like, I should be on the beach with my woman putting a baby in her, but I'm here miserable because I can't.
And I
can't leave this. And then Matt Johnson like realizes like Cookie's left him, and then he's seen like Dr. J like is better than him after he looked up to him for so long. And Jerry West is like, are you like willing to? He coaches him that way. Like, are you willing to give it your all? And Mac Johnson's like, I gotta win. It's because he thinks about I gotta shut up everyone about Larry Bird. I gotta shut up everyone on this team who still kind of thinks I'm the smiley, happy-go-lucky guy. I gotta shut up you who, because he says like you didn't want to draft me, right? He's like, why? And he's like, I didn't think you could do it. I didn't think you could be like a man and be like that. It tells him the story about
I didn't understand where they couldn't see that. I didn't understand how and where they couldn't see that, because at the end of the day, he was very confident about his game. Even, I mean, he was to the point where he was very selfish about his game.
He's confident in the flash, in the sizzle, but Larry Bird is confident, like, I'm just going to shut up and then murder you.
Right. I hear you. But I'm not even talking about Bird. I'm talking about why he didn't want to, why Bus saw more in him than West saw more in him. Like, I didn't understand why you saw his game in Michigan. So, like, him smiling should have no aspect of anything. It
it's like, I mean, not to relate it to wrestling, it's the why do they push the charismatic guy over the better wrestler? In that aspect, it's Jerry Buss sees someone who can sell tickets, again, his smile, and he can play. That's the end of the thing. He's like, but he can play. It's just this he has all the pizzazz and sizzle, whereas like Larry Bird's like, he's just some boring guy. Yeah, he's good, but like, I don't want that. You can't sell that just that someone's good. Like, you need something. I'm selling a whole package, and like, because Kareem's the quiet, keeps to himself,
right,
superstar, and he's gonna, like, he tells them in the first game, like, I'm gonna get my 30 and 10. They're gonna look at me to win, and we're gonna win.
Right.
And his story through the course of the season too is that he thinks he might be done, but we know he's not for another 10 years. He stays for the rest of the decade.
And who did that? Magic. Magic taught each other. You know what I mean?
He reinvigorated him. Yeah.
Back with so what if he was smiling? So what if he's always happy-go-lucky? Like, at the end of the day, what he said, I think I quoted, there was a quote that he said something about you out here like a cutlass with a flat, like you moving like a cutlass with a flat, and we out here like Ferraris. Like, it's true. Like, it has nothing to do with smiling and wanting to be charismatic. You still got to play the game. And if you have everything all together, like, it just didn't, that part of it didn't make any sense to me. And so when the whole bike situation, like, that was crazy to me, because I didn't even understand the coaching journey of that team. I didn't realize that Riley was, what you call it, like, he was a court, like,
a color commentator. Like,
I didn't even realize he sat there, and I didn't realize that he got a chance. His career was based on a chance, like a whole chance, and he just killed it. Like, he is legendary for it, and he had a full head of hair.
Well, you see it too the course of the season as he joined. Like, he's this guy who's like down on himself. Like, he thinks, like, what else am I going to do? Like, I worked so hard to even get to the league, and I lost in college, and then I won in the pros. But like, what am I going to do after this? Again, like you said, like, post-retirement, what was his plan? Like, a lot of these guys didn't know what to do. He's like, maybe I can call games, but then he sees coaching, and he kind of sees that Paul West said, because I had said it when some previews on that, they have a great scene where Paul West is like, damn it, Pat, you're a coach. You're my coach. Right. And then Riley's like, no, I'm your nanny. Because at the end of the day, like, one guy is a substitute teacher who's in over his head. And Pat Riley's guy's like, I'm going to fucking motivate you because I can relate to you because I've been here. Like, my body's been broken down. I have lost. I have won.
That's right.
And that's why he at the right moment, like Magic's dead tired in the game 6 and he can't go out there. And then Pat Riley's like 63-3. And he's like, huh? He's like, the rookie vote. 63 votes for Bird, 3 for you. And that's when Magic's like, it's time to go up. And you see, like, you're rewatching Game of Thrones, you're just finishing, like, he's Robert the Usurper, Pat Riley. He sees that, like, I can actually coach these guys. Because when Jack McKinney wants to come back, he tells me, like, no, we did this. We won these games. He won the first few. We won these together because these guys rallied behind us.
Right.
And he wants to come back and take credit. Like, no, we can't let that happen.
Well, he couldn't, right?
And then we know how history plays out. we know how history plays out. Pat Riley coached the rest of the Lakers dynasty and won with Magic Johnson, James Worthy, and so on, Byron Scott. And that's what, again, future seasons, who knows if they will go season by season, or maybe they'll kind of like few years together.
Right.
Because again, they don't win the next year, which would be interesting if they, because I mean, with HBO, which is, we'll talk about them, the network as a whole, in terms of like how many seasons they usually have for shows. A lot of times shows have either gone on too long or end too quickly. But this show documenting, because it's based off a book that we've kind of covered as a whole, but the way it ends, it's like they're at the top of the mountain. We know the Celtics and them are going to go back and forth. And this show opens up with a scene, again, Magic Johnson in a doctor's office in 1991, about to get some news, and he sees Michael Jordan on that cover, and that guy's him. He's seeing his life through him now, and what would then go on through the rest of the 90s. But no, I mean, like I said, like the way the show covers these guys, I said it before with Banks over the course of us talking about, are supposed to be we know them now as the most confident, flashy guys of all time, but we're seeing them at their most vulnerable with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the Pieces of a Man episode where he tells his story. Like I said, it was one of my favorite episodes of the series, where he comes to terms with being the old man on the team. Like you said, the cutlass on four flats, and him and his religion, him and his girlfriend, him as a whole. Like, you know, look at what I had to do. I was hated for what I was doing over the last 10 years. Like, I couldn't play in the Olympics because I boycotted it. And then you see them get together in the desert as a team during training camp. And that was one of my favorite episodes. And Nick and Magic finally get along when they realize we can play together instead of trying to beat each other for the job.
But I think Magic was trying to do that, but he was the old head, you know, the OG of the team.
Well, that's why they call him Buck,
wanted to give him that respect, but
because he was the young Buck. And which is, I knew something from that before. Bill Simmons has said that, like, Magic, when him and Magic did NBA Countdown, that Magic said, like, Kareem and the guys on the team would always call me Buck because I was the young Buck on the team. And they kind of hint at that multiple times with the show, where they're like, what do you think, Buck? And Magic's like, when they kick off Spencer Haywood, they don't like, and then Kareem says it, it's like, young Buck, I need you to lead, I need you to play center for me because I can't make the trip to Game 6. And, But Banks, how do you think the show ended? As you said, you and I covered it from the start, and it looked shaky in the beginning. It looked a little too cartoony because, again, it talks to the camera, it winks, it does some animation, it tries to be, you know, a little too cool. But how do you think the finale played? Because it was a little bit more serious.
I think it played well. I think it added more character than we already know of Magic, because, you know, we got to see Magic wild out. I don't really need to say what he was doing, but you ain't really supposed to be doing that off the bat. You feel me? Especially at the work site. But, you know, it showed, that's what's so great about the show. It showed the immortal side. Yeah, it showed the immortal side to all of them. Now, that documentary that came out didn't really help him, because it's like, bro, you kind of just making everything they said look true in a way. But
when did that document? Where was that?
Came out halfway through the season on Apple TV.
Oh, I gotta go look at that after I didn't see
it. Literally was like, I think after episode 4 or 5, they dropped this doc because everyone was talking about the show and like, man, Magic Johnson looking crazy.
The lawsuits, all them lawsuits start coming. He's like, no, hold on.
Yeah. Jeannie Buss, I don't think has said anything about the show, but and again, her portrayal. So she's kind of like the Debbie Downer of the series. Whenever like Jerry Buss is doing something, she has to get a flashback of her childhood and how he was just kind of chauvinistic monster. But I mean,
he was in the car wilding, bro.
Yeah.
So take her home.
Say that again, Banks.
He was out here wilding with the maid. You supposed to take her home, bro. That's not how the game is played. So that's what I learned about the show. All them some freak bulls except for Kareem.
That's your takeaway?
No, but he's the whole time he's supposed to be Muslim with a white woman, right?
All right, hold on.
Isn't that?
Did he just bounce? Because I've said it so many times. I mean, my nephew's girlfriend is Indian and Pakistani. My cousin's fiance / boyfriend, I think boyfriend, not fiance, is white. like I have mixed. My son's girlfriend is white. Like it, but they don't go around talk about.
Why are you pointing at me for it? Like it's my sister or something.
The white people are the devil, and
Yeah,
they
we are though.
partners. Like that's the part for me. I couldn't reconcile that piece of it. You know, like he was adamant, but then he was taking advice from a white woman. So I didn't understand that. I was like, but wait.
I do sometime as well. There she go right there. I do as well sometime. There she go right there.
And it's all good. Love is love, but you're talking two things. And I don't think he ever made, I don't know if he ever made that clear because I was never really a fan. But that was weird to me. And I kept saying in the group chat, I'm trying to understand. I can't understand. It's like weird. It was bizarre.
Well, that's always been my thing about it. Is that the people who preach you shouldn't be with these white people are the people that are ironically enough with white people. So that's why I'm like, take it easy a bit. Like
what Semper Vivi said about he was trying to get one of the bean pies or something. Oh, the final call, he was trying to get one.
He was trying to get a bean pie in there in their version of a newspaper, and he couldn't, and then his sister could. Yeah.
They wouldn't give it to him?
They wouldn't give it to Semper Vivi. His sister would have to go in and she could buy it, no problem. But Semper Vivi couldn't go in and buy it. So it's they had the preference for the milk, as Twitter would say.
What?
Yeah, because he was in DC. What he said, he from DC. So DC in the 90s around that time with Brand Nubian and all them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's around that time.
That's weird and bizarre.
And that's how the show opens up. Dr. But says like I'm buying a team. And the biggest problem is they say the league's too black, which was a thing in the NBA. Like the reason the ratings were down is because there was a bunch of black people and the media wasn't ready for that. It had been George Mikan, Bob Cousy, John Havlicek, and then like the ABA happened and that took off. That was like the AEW to rival the NBA's WWF, and they had Dr. J, they had all these other guys. The Spirits of St. Louis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they folded and got bought into the NBA, and then we see that Matt Johnson has come out of Michigan State, and again, he's all the flash, and he has that encounter at the premiere. He sees Bill Cosby, and he says he wants to be that. He's like, look at how they looked at him. They all fucked. He wants that, and Cookie tells him that the whole time is that you want to be Magic, you don't want to be Irvin. It's like you want to be Ric Flair, not Richard Fleer.
And I think that's what the issue was with their relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And he went back and forth with it too, to the point where he boned her best friend, her roommate.
Who knows if that almost seemed like a TV thing. I don't know if that happened.
Regardless, we're talking about the story, right?
We're talking about the show. Yeah, I'm saying
it's Magic. I believe everything.
Exactly. So I just feel like he always fought between the two, and even his mom. When you go back, if you take it a step back, his mother fought with him like Cookie fought with him, but she was more. I think because Cookie saw how the mom was with him, and I think that's why his mother likes Cookie so much, because
she's like, that's gonna be me. Like I'm gonna have to watch over him.
She could balance him out, and I feel like now she has balanced him out. I feel like that whole situation, if that situation didn't happen, I don't know. Do you think that he would be the man he is today? Like, you do think that he would still be running around and doing all these things?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you think that situation that said, stop.
Yeah, no. Once you a wild horse, you always a wild horse.
And you know what? Another thing is, I always said, I wonder, like, how did her and her kids never get didn't contract it?
We talked about that, I think, in past,
but
in one of the episodes.
It in the thing, but they showed it in the thing. She would not have sex with him without a condom.
Yeah.
And so I was like, because in my mind for many years, I just was just like, I can't understand how that happened.
Who knows when he actually gets it at what point? Like, the son had been born and then he contracted it. Who knows when he actually gets it?
But she was like, she knew that he was a dog. And so
but I mean, the kid's like, right scene after he embarrasses the guy she's kind of seen at the pickup game, and he's like, I'm right here. Like, it's not Magic, it's Irvin. And she's almost fallen for it, but then she knows what's gonna happen if she goes with him.
It wasn't stupid.
That's why he kind of embarrasses the new girl who's in LA already, and her dad being like his manager in a way, and the dad's kind of warning him like, you got to watch who you're around, which is always again the cautionary tale in sports, like you just said. Like Warren Sapp was on these guys. They have bad management, whether it's family members or people that are in it for the wrong reasons, and they lose out on. We know he.
But I think the dad wasn't in it for the bad reason, at the wrong.
No. I mean, and then his mom, and they have the great scene when they're watching Game 6, and the mom's like on his side, like defending him. He's like, "Don't you talk about my son like that?" And then you see the dad like, "That's right, mom." Like he gets super, like hyped because there's that great scene when he checks back in, and they cut like to every character over the course of the season in like the 4 square corner, and like Larry Bird's watching. Larry Bird's pissed. He's like, and who knows if something like that was, but like you can believe that these two legit had. And there's been docs about it, books about it, that the rivalry / mutual respect they had, but Larry Bird's watching it from Indiana. Like, I'm not there, and that pisses me off. Like,
right.
Because
I didn't understand him. I didn't understand him why he was angry all the freaking time. Like,
who?
Like, Bird.
Because he lost.
You see how he looked? You'd be mad too.
But no, it's because he lost. He lost in college, and then he lost when they got to the league. Who cares if he won Rookie of the Year? He didn't care about that. He wants to win the title at the end of the day. Like the Rookie of the Year award. Like, and they show the press conference where he's like, "We're gonna win the game. Yep, I'm gonna shoot. Yep, and then he like goes like he covers the mic. He's like, "I'm gonna rip you a new asshole." And Magic's like, "The fuck's going on with this guy?" But then you see Magic at the dinner with David Stern, like, kind of embarrasses them. Like, you can't sell your league based on this guy who's gonna be need someone like me. And then David Stern does the whole like, they say Kareem won the award, but I think you should really get it. And David Stern's being the Vince McMahon, going from
he definitely Vince McMahon,
going from Hulk Hogan to Bret Hart, from Bret Hart to Shawn Michaels, from Shawn Michaels to Steve Austin, from Steve Austin to The Rock, from The Rock to Triple H. It's again because he goes from Dr. J to Magic, from Magic to MJ, from MJ to Shaq, and then so on. Like, David Stern was puppet mastering these things the whole time in a way.
I like that
his portrayal. What?
Because he was trying to make Shaq the face of the league. One day I'm gonna talk about the early 2000s, about how they was like, we don't have the right Negro at this time because Kobe was too young.
He tells them in that
Kobe was too young, but Kobe became the face of the league.
Exactly. Because after Shaq didn't work, it's like it's Tim Duncan, he's boring, and then it's Kobe, then he has his scandal, and then it's LeBron. Like, we can sell on this shit.
Right, that's the trajectory. That's right.
It really was supposed to be AI, but he's like,
well,
can't do it with this one.
That's it's with him. We can't trust this guy. He's a loose cannon. It's that. But you see David Stern sell will bust like, when they meet Red Auerbach, like this is the guy that runs the league secretly. Like, it's not the commissioner, it's this guy. And Red Auerbach has a great scene with Jerry Buss where he's like, I've seen rich guys like you come in here and think they can buy a team and get laid, but you guys can't win because I live and breathe this. And then that motivates Jerry Buss because he's a competitive guy at the end of the day when he's like, I know how to beat you. Right. I just gotta be better than you, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes.
And he did.
He did multiple times, and that's the whole story. Is that these guys all won at the end of the day. Kareem, Pat Riley, Magic, and they won more than the other guys. They won more than Red Auerbach. They won more than Larry Bird.
Yeah. Another interesting aspect of it was the family dynamic of it, which
Jeannie Buss and then the 2 sons at the end. You mean the very succession? Like, these 2 guys are idiots, and we know that she owns the team now.
Boy, we found out years later. We found out years later how bad he was gonna be.
Yeah.
Like, I just
Luol Deng still rich.
Huh?
Luol Deng still eating off the Laker contract. This is last year.
Of course. But I just felt like she busted her ass. Like, It wasn't the same. You can't really compare both of Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon with this situation, because I feel like Vince gave Stephanie a lot of opportunities, and that's why she's where she is today. Like, that position is earned. Like, she came up the ranks, and I feel like Jeannie was coming up the ranks. I don't know if it was too soon to put her on the board at that time, but I think she proved herself to be on the board. I'm glad that who they put on as treasurer, they put her on as treasurer, because at the end of the day, I feel like Jeannie was learning a lot from her. You know what I mean? But it was interesting that even though he knew that his sons weren't up for it, like, he still wanted her to bring them up, so that they can be for it. But I'm glad that he I don't know the story after that. And I don't know if HBO is going to expand on that, like keep going. I don't know.
We've talked about before,
or if they're going to continue to expand.
Well, this is based off the book about the Lakers, but Banks and I said, like, do you think this show will cover the Kobe Bryant, Shaq years, and then the Kobe Solo years, and then kind of the fall? I think it just mainly will be because it says the rise of the Showtime Lakers. The Lakers Dynasty. Who knows? They could probably, like I said, they fast forward a few years and decide to maybe do that as the final 2 seasons where Jeannie Buss and Phil Jackson are together, and she's in charge of the team, and he's the coach of the team. But like you said, like I think it's maybe also a little bit of that 80s backwards thinking. Like my daughter can't be the one in charge. It's got to be my son's. Damn it! Like, because he always sees her. He's always like Jeannie Bean. He just sees her as the little girl that, you know.
But you gave her a job, though. That's the thing. You still gave her a job. So why are you still seeing her as Jeannie Bean? That's the mentality that I always.
It's probably that tough love thing. Like, I'm going to make you tougher and earn it if I treat you like this. But like these bumbling idiots that are my sons, unfortunately, again, I handed them everything, so they won't know what to do with it.
But why give it to them if you know that they don't know what to do with it? Like, why are you giving it to them? You know what I mean?
Masculinity thing.
It's the most bizarre thing that I've ever. With that one, it was so weird to see that. Like,
I haven't finished Succession season 3, but you're all caught. You had finished it. I mean, again, what's the whole point of the start of Succession? Is Kendall Roy's like, I'm the one who's next,
right?
Connor Roy's like, I don't want to do this at all. Roman is just like, they won't let me do what I want, and then Shiv is the one who's like, I want to be as far away from this family. Season 2, it's like Shiv's the one that should be doing this, and Kendall is fucked up, and then Roman kind of has some good ideas, but you can't trust him. And then Connor is just like, this guy's a weird guy. Like, and then season 3 plays out again. Like, he doesn't know who to trust now. Does he trust the one who's going to betray him? Does he trust the one who doesn't? He doesn't know. Yeah, because he's basically Jerry Buss. And
they trust Logan? That's what you mean.
Well, that's right. And that's the thing. And it's also like, they can't trust Jerry at first in a way because he's lying about the money. Remember, like the mom tells Jeannie, like, we don't. He's like, I heard her talk about the money, that we don't have any, and that this whole season's riding on if we can own this for the next year. Again, he has to do the thing where his ex-wife signs for the team, and again, it's like Logan. Like, it's funny how Succession came out around the time that all this WWE stuff was happening when they came back and said they were going to give it back to the fans, and Shane McMahon was back, but was he back?
I didn't realize that. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Oh no, it was the thing that anyone who would watch the show and follow wrestling could realize the whole time, where like the family dynamic. Because again, Triple H is obviously Tom, like he's the bumbling idiot that married into the family.
He's not a bumbling idiot, though. That's the thing. He's not.
This man, this man let give it up. Here we go.
This man let his best friend take his shit. Ain't that some shit? Come on.
Go ahead, get it off. Go ahead.
Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is running NXT. I mean, snake in the grass. Shawn Michaels just striking out of nowhere.
This is what I say to the audience. This is what I'm saying to Mimi and everybody. This man, like I said yesterday, I commend him for holding a grudge, because when he is F you, he seriously means it's F you. I can never be that resentful in life.
What I say, when it's hate, it's forever.
Yeah, you about serious.
Clearly.
Like,
I just think that when it comes to Succession, I mean, that show is built off of I think they're telling the Warren Buffett story, right?
I think it's the Murdochs. The Murdochs.
Oh, Murdoch.
I think maybe probably a mixture of like, he's also, I think, Murdoch, Trump, and Buffett combined. I think it's but I think maybe the family is the Murdoch, because again, they're like 2 sons. And some But I think it's kind of all these rich families together.
So I think that it's interesting for me because I just feel like Logan is the worst parent in the whole wide world. And we've watched shows where we've watched fathers play the kids against each other, but nothing beats the fact that you played your son back into substance abuse. That is my thing with Logan. And the fact that you played him to the point where he crippled himself because honestly, Kendall is really the one that should have been CEO.
Yeah.
He should have been the one that was CEO because he's the one with the right mindset out of everybody. Shiv didn't want it. Shiv just wanted to do her PR stuff. That she was good with that. But then Tom.
Well, once she gets the taste of it and she thinks that Kendall's falling out of favor, she sees the door's wide open, and then she just, I can change the face of this company and the outlook, and we can be seen.
You can, but you don't have to sit
differently.
At the top. But you don't have to sit at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Shiv's role, right? And so for me, I'm always about family. So what really kind of fucked with me the whole season was watching how she was just picking her brother apart along with her father. And in the end, her father was never going to give it to her. He was never going to give it to her. And that's the part where I can compare him and Vince McMahon. Not necessarily that he would give it to somebody else and not give it to Steph, but more so.
It's looking like that, though.
No, that company will not be sold outside of the family unless they want the company to be sold outside of the family. It's always been the word on Wall Street that plenty of media companies have wanted to buy WWE. Yeah. It's been, and people are waiting, they're chomping at the bit, waiting at the edge of their seats for when that offer or that bid goes out for somebody to snatch it up and grab it up, because it's a very unique situation. This was something that was run out of a living room and now is like a global, like they can stand next to all the competitors right now. Mm-hmm. They can stand next to everybody. And so the fact that they're able to, and they were able to grow by themselves, you know, in such a steady pace and grow their reputation is really something that's fascinating, and that the streets look at and is like, wow, like we want a piece of, we want to understand everything about this. So let's just grab this up. I think that new management has come in to set it up as if it will, they've come in to set it up where it's almost foolproof, right? If we were to go into a pandemic, live events won't really matter anymore. Because at the end of the day, the design from before, live events was what was bringing in all the ticket sales. You can't even go to a WrestleMania without paying $1,000 for a front row seat.
They get help them for the better, that they realize like we're kind of burning ourselves out by doing all these towns.
Right. That too, but that didn't matter. It didn't really matter anyway, because they were selling out. They were selling out anyway, and the tickets were at market price. Now, you at WrestleMania, you could have found a seat the day of WrestleMania for like $230 floor seats. Mm-hmm. So, and it was still packed, 77,000 people in the room. But they're setting it up to in a place where even though there's 77,000 people in the room, it won't matter if there was 50,000 or 40,000 people in the room. They're still gonna maintain and sustain, digitally or whatever, however.
Because that's what the pandemic taught us. What app has content for us to watch over and over and over and over. And Nick Khan's game, being an ex-CAA agent, is to package deals together. Because I had the CAA book that I'd never finished, but like the way that company started was all these guys. Like, I'm going to package this actor with this director to this studio. You're going to get 3 movies out of these people all together, and then we're going to on to the next one. But I mean, so you don't think Vince McMahon bringing in Shane McMahon for the Rumble and then kicking him out the next day was Kendall going back on drugs, and then you don't think that was, hey, Shane, why don't you come back for one night, and then we bury you the next day.
Even I don't understand what that was all about. I really don't understand what that was all about. It was very bizarre because at the end of the day, he's your son. So I don't know if it was a work, if it was a ploy for something else down the line. It just felt very weird because when I was there, I was managing all the 2K scans. And the day of WrestleMania, we had the day of WrestleMania, I was managing those scans. And so he was on the list, and it was a must that he was in the game. Like, it was a couple of people that needed to be scanned that day. During that whole weekend, they had to be scanned, and he was one of them. So for him not to be a part of the company and get future endeavored is
Yeah.
publicly future endeavored was very bizarre because he was barely on, right? And so I highly doubt he was getting any kind of money. He probably was getting, his deal was probably per appearance because that's what it was, right? Whenever SummerSlam or Royal Rumble or WrestleMania came on, that's when you saw Shane McMahon. It was bizarre. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand that aspect of the business right now. I don't understand. Like, you didn't put it in my mind that Shawn Michaels is there and Triple H isn't until you just said it just now. Like, oh, wait, that is what just happened. Like, I'm confused. I
actually almost think Triple H is actually Kendall in terms of like the guy that should be running it and who kind of like got in the good graces, because Shane's kind of Connor I'm going to run for president, and then Vince is like, I didn't ask you to run. I mean, Logan's like, I didn't ask you to run for fucking president. It's like Shane McMahon leaving to start Comcast in China or whatever he did during that year and a half he was gone. But there are a lot of parallels with the Busses, the McMahons, the Roys. I mean, these Game of Thrones, the Starks, the Targaryens, all of them. I mean, you just rewatched Game of Thrones, maybe kind of. You know what? Like, before we go into that, but what was your favorite performance on the show, and who was your favorite character? So, which actor did the best, and which character were you most entertained by? I think the Magic character for me did the best because I think that he's a new actor that just came on the scene. I watched the podcast afterwards with Fox and Frick Fox. Yeah. I just think that the Bus character was great too, but his acting range is just phenomenal. But I think Magic's character was by far the favorite for me because he is new. He's a young actor that is just getting his feet wet. And this was a big role. And I feel like you got to play Magic Johnson. He got to play Magic Johnson, but he didn't just play it. Like, he really got into it, and he learned from everybody on the set. He learned from the Bus character. He learned from the Larry character. If you listen to the podcast, like, he really got into it and took bits and pieces because he wants to further his career, and that was great to see him play young Magic to old Magic, And so he's passable. He kind of looks like him, especially after the pilot. You could tell the pilot was they filmed it for these 2 weeks, and then they picked up the show and filmed 3 months later because everyone looks different. But again, also time happens where, like, that's Magic at Michigan State, and then the second episode, like when he's heading to LA, he looks like the Magic Johnson we all kind of know. Right. But Banks, who is your favorite? Big
teeth like Magic too, so it worked out.
And the smile, like, he has such a beautiful smile. And Magic has a beautiful smile. So,
what about you, Banks? Who's your favorite actor, and which character did you like the most?
Richard Pryor said, "We white famous, y'all famous."
Mike Epps is Richard Pryor. You mean?
Yeah. I'm always happy to see Mike Epps on my screen.
Yeah, he was supposed to play him. I told Davis he didn't know about that. It was supposed to be a biopic for Richard Pryor, but they got canned.
Really?
Yeah, that man that's locked up. That nasty man, it was through his production company.
Yeah.
Harvey Kelly.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, it's supposed to go through his company. So they had to can it because they got locked up.
Somebody will pick it up?
No, they own the rights.
No, because they had lost Miramax, and then they started a Weinstein company. I can't remember who bought the Weinstein company because Miramax is owned by BN, which is a European media company. So you're saying Mike Epps' Richard Pryor was your favorite performance? What about, or was that your favorite?
No. Kareem.
He was pretty good though. Yeah, the guy who played Kareem and
Kareem and Wood Harris, especially when Harris started smoking on that stuff. He was tweaking in the bathtub on the last episode.
Mike Simpervey said the best that he was watching with his wife, and his wife literally gasped when he pulled the crack pipe out of his shoe. That episode after putting the baby down. Like, no.
It's called the 80s.
Yeah.
But when he was in the bed on the last episode tweaking in that bathtub, I said, "Hey, bro, get out the bathtub." Sweat. I need help. I said, "Yeah, you do, Mr. Haywood."
Yeah. Again, he was with Amon, who would later be Mrs. David Bowie.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I mean, my favorite character, I think, obviously would be, and it's my favorite performance, is Jerry West, Jason Clarke, who I kind of never really liked as an actor. I've seen him in a few stuff, like the Great Gatsby movie.
You watched that?
Yeah, it was really bad.
So bad. I've never been able to watch it straight through. I've always fallen.
Me as well. I think I only saw like half of it once, and then the other half another time. Yeah.
Best thing that come from that movie. That gift. That's the only thing
I
like. Yeah.
But Jason Clarke is Jerry West. Like I said, it's just a constant mood where like I'm like I want to retire. I'm gonna quit. I'm just like angry 24/7. Like he can't watch the games. He like watches. He's like, I asked the guy like, what's the score? And the guy's like Sixers by 6. He's like, God fucking damn it! Like, and he leaves. He drinks Pepto Bismol before the game. It's like that's their flask is drinking Pepto Bismol because he can't. It's like I can't do it. Damn it! Like he
no.
leaves.
It's a liquor in it. They just put it in the bottle. That's what that is.
But no, I mean, that was my favorite. But again, the guy who played Kareem was good, and the role of the character of Kareem was good. Seeing Jason Segel, who is Marshall Erickson on How I Met Your Mother, forgetting Sarah Marshall, play Paul Westhead, kind of again the incompetent coach. Yeah. When this show was announced, there was nothing that frustrated me more was Adrian Brody playing Pat Riley, because I've never liked Adrian Brody. And
but he's gonna exactly like him.
But he played Pat Riley so well. I was pissed because he's at the end of it, he is a great actor, and he had a great episode of Succession in season 3 when he's Josh, when they go to his house and he plays Logan and Kendall against each other. Like when I'm looking at that time, like fuck, why is Adrian Brody so good and so unlikable? But like,
but why don't you like him?
He's just like. Well, I mean, he had done like the Oscar thing where like he kissed Halle Berry like without like her permission, and then he had done like the Rasta Man thing on SNL. He just always kind of had like that super douchey, like artful like thing. Like
I've only seen him in movies. I've not seen him do anything. Or I know I heard something about the Halle Berry thing, but I haven't. I didn't see it, so. I don't watch award shows anymore. Yeah. Like I don't do any of that other stuff anymore.
Well, this was years. This is like 2004 when he had won for the Pianist. And he is someone who kind of like not got blackballed, but like Hollywood had kind of lost favor of him for a bit. He kind of become like a headache, almost like how they put the stigma on Val Kilmer, like this guy's kind of difficult to work with, or thinks highly of himself. Well, Colin Farrell was a drug addict for a while, and then he kind of rebounded. Like, yeah.
Oh, wow. He's off the Haywood.
Colin Farrell was a rock star of actors in a way. Like he was. I mean, he had the sex tape.
Farrell. I was talking about Brody.
Oh no! He makes it say Colin Farrell, but no, like Adrian Brody. I think was the thing after he'd won his. And they always say like winning an Oscar is the kiss of death for an actor because you can demand a higher rate and you got to live up to it. And a lot of times people just cash in. He kind of did a lot of straight to video movies, but. I don't know what he did recently, but that's him being on Succession. That episode was a big look, and then he was announced because a lot of the time HBO would reuse the same actors. You've seen it, like rewatching Game of Thrones, and who kind of has an HBO show now or is part of an HBO show now. Again, Wood Harris was on The Wire. He was on Winning Time.
Yeah.
They have their repertory company, but him as Pat Riley again. I'm excited to see I'll be excited to see him as like slicked back hair mob boss Pat Riley when the show goes forward with season 2, which was announced.
Do we know that's what
they announced season 2? I think after the 3rd or 4th episode, but it's again like when will it pick up directly or halfway through or something. But
do you think that they'll do? Do you think that they'll do any of the other teams? Like I feel like Philly and maybe Chicago.
No, because this is just based off the Lakers book.
They're not
doing that Bulls. No.
I don't think they want to do a winning. I mean, like a Marvel Cinematic Universe for NBA teams. Like next, we're going to cover the Bad Boy Pistons, and then we're going to do the 2001 Sixers and all that. I don't think they have at least not yet. They announced Doc Rivers is going to get a show, right? Banks or no. Donald Sterling, who plays a small.
I'm about to say Doc Rivers for what? For that one championship.
So, Banks, you don't think that they would do any of the other team?
No, man, they can't do the Bulls, Jordan. That's why I keep saying that real Last Dance gonna come out in the future when Jordan gone. He
I
got.
have to think.
I got some skeletons in my closet, and I don't think you know it. I'm about to start Eminem cleaning out my closet on that one because
I
Well,
mean,
speaking
everybody
of-
has skeletons in their closet, and I
But you
think,
know-
especially when he moved to DC, a lot of his shit, like a lot of, but he never got canceled though.
no, but that's what I'm saying. He back in the day, that's why he was wilding because he couldn't get canceled. I done heard some Jordan stories now. You can't come up with no, you know what I mean? Somebody snitch on him, they gonna be found by the lake. You know, you ain't messing with Jordan. He got some, yeah. Because remember, Jordan, Jordan was famous. Famous. Hey, Tyson,
I don't
Jordan.
think anybody got. I don't think anybody got to that level except for Kobe and LeBron.
Yeah. D Rose, he popping in China still, Steph Curry, but Jordan by far is one of the top 3 most popular athletes ever.
Yeah.
And still
besides
is.
Tyson and Ali. Yeah. Like they known everywhere.
Yeah.
No, but you said The Last Dance, and today, well, I mean, it dropped really yesterday, but I saw it today, is ESPN's next version of The Last Dance, the captain, the Derek Jeter story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see it. It's going to be a lot of lies because he another one.
I don't care. I like Derek Jeter. Who doesn't like Derek
I do too,
Jeter?
but he a freak bull. They ain't going to tell the truth.
That's why I like him.
He had more milk than Josh.
I was like this his whole career.
You mean like what, praying for his downfall or like hoping?
Praying that nothing came out.
Okay.
Nothing came out. Because my son did book reports on Derek Jeter.
Mm-hmm.
Like we went to every season, we went to like maybe 2 or 3 Yankee games every season as he was coming up and playing baseball because he loved Derek Jeter. And I was like, this, please, Lord. Please. I just don't want nothing to come out. So then when his book came out, I didn't read his book, but I was like, I know this ain't gonna be true because he wrote it. He's trying to control the narrative.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Then when I saw this documentary coming out, I was like,
I just hope they talk to Mariah Carey.
okay.
They at least got to sit down with Mariah Carey, Jordana Brewster, all the women, and be like,
Derek had them all, and then the ones we don't know about.
They got to talk to Alex Rodriguez and everyone.
Oh, Jesus, that man.
But I'm looking forward to it again. The thing The Last Dance taught us is that.
That's right. Everybody got a gift basket.
That's what I mean. They have to at least get like 1 or 2 of the actresses to be like, what was in the gift basket and all that. And again, Mariah Carey probably has to be like, which songs were about Derek Jeter.
Oh my gosh.
But
how long were they together for? Do you know? Do we know?
Like a year or 2, I think. Again, Van might have to join us when we cover The Captain, which is July of this year. So we're not too far from it, at least. But The Last Dance
he was probably
that
putting
we need
Ben's keys in there.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Pay your rent. Here you go, Shorty. Screaming, Shorty. Pay your rent with this.
Oh shit, that was funny.
But this is again one of the many, because when The Last Dance came out, people were like, what if we had a doc about like all the big controversial or like prominent figures in sports? HBO basically did an unauthorized Tiger doc. It was actually pretty good, but it's like obviously he wasn't going to take part in any of this.
He another known freak bull though, so
and that's why he didn't want to take part in it.
Highest Tiger,
but at least with Derek Jeter, he can at least, like Mimi said, control his narrative. They can ask like, so what were the gift baskets? Like he's like, oh yeah, there was like keys to a Benz, it was a Tiffany necklace and this and all that. It was a Birkin bag. He can do like the whole shebang about like what were in the gift baskets.
Hey, you said like he a straight up trick.
But again, he won 5 rings too. So it's like he's a
trick.
And this man hosted SNL. He was Magic Johnson of the MLB in the 90s.
Yeah.
He was on Seinfeld, yeah. And people would say he was an overrated shortstop, but hey, I mean,
that's why he went bald. All that tricking. He was stressed
but
out.
so now, Mimi, you've been watching Game of Thrones in preparation for House of the Dragon,
which I still do not understand where House of the Dragon is. I don't know if it's an epilogue or it's a prologue.
Oh, it's an epilogue. This is before the events of Game of Thrones.
Real quick.
This is the story of Daenerys' ancestors.
Yeah.
Real quick. We got to talk about that book that Van called The New Detox. That book that George R. Martin was supposed to put out like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, the finale of Game of Thrones, The Winds of Winter, I believe.
That's the new detox that he said. And that's true because I remember hearing about that like 2012 and everybody used to go crazy on Reddit about that. They're like, when is the book coming out? All I seen
Well,
last time George R. R. Martin was in the strip club. That's the last thing I saw.
you pick. I can't with Banks. I can't.
No, I know. But again, why do you think? But then, in what do I do? Sometimes I have to rival it and say something just as crazy because it's like I can't let him say it all by himself because then I'll just be looked at as like we basically are Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby.
By himself.
No, we're basically Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heen. Like, whoa, you stop! Like, who are you talking to me? Huh?
So here's what I'm going to say about Game of Thrones. I did not realize I was a fan of the show. I literally did not realize that these were a series of books and Game of Thrones is so now
you know this Avengers is based off a comic book. Did you know that?
So now what has happened is I have to read all the books, even Game of Thrones, although I've watched the series 3 times. That was my
Are you really one of those people?
I literally did not like Harry Potter. I bought my niece the whole Harry Potter series when she was little. This was pre my son. My niece and my nephew were my kids before I had my kid. And so I used to spoil them a lot. So I knew that was a whole series, but Game of Thrones, I was always annoyed by Game of Thrones because initially when it first came out, I couldn't get past episode 1 because of the ancestral like story.
The incest of it, yeah.
It was really disgusting to me. And I felt like it was soft porn. It was constantly titties and ass in the damn show. And I was just like, I can't watch it.
They say that's what the books are too. And in the books, he literally goes like into more detail. Like
and that's fine when you're reading it, but like on TV and you're
erotica.
It's literally who's that?
He's
Y'all thought I was playing. That's him.
No.
That's him, bro.
Who is that?
That's George R. R. Martin. In the club.
I can't.
Y'all thought I'd be lying to y'all. There you go right there. Post it. Look. What type of rap party is this? Look at my son. He's moving just like me.
Why you had to... Banks is doing like the enhance zoom in. Like, look at him.
Like, this you? This you?
Oh my god.
He moving just like me. I might start reading these books.
Oh wow. So it was hard for me to get through the first episode. And so then maybe like a year or 2 later when season 2 started, I was like, should I okay, let me try it again. Again, I couldn't get past episode 1. I literally, and then I got to the point where I did get through it when he pushed Bran out of the window. I was like, oh, hell no. This is too much for me. I can't do it. So I was done, right? Then I came fast forward to season 6. And I started watching season 7. And I started watching season 7. And I was like, oh my God, this is really good. And I'm watching and I'm like, but what happened? And I said, you know what? I need to stop right now. I need to stop and I just need to get through it. I remember specifically it was Holy Thursday. It was Easter weekend. Holy Thursday, I stopped watching whatever that it was that happened that previous Sunday when it came on. I went all the way back to season 1. And I watched Game of Thrones from season 1 up until the up-to-date. By the time Sunday came, so it took me Thursday, Friday, Saturday, straight through, maybe 2 hours of sleep, got up 8 o'clock in the morning because we were in the house, got up 8 o'clock in the morning, started back up again. And every day I watched like a season or 2. And I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I was missing this. It was addictive. So then when we had to wait that whole 2 years for season 8 to pop up.
Yeah, because it was 2017 was season 7, and then 2019 was
every show on for them is it's a 2-year gap. And so we waited the 2 years, it came, and I still was just like, I don't know. I didn't know. I enjoyed it, but I just didn't know, right? And so during the pandemic, I went back to season 1 and watched it again. And I was just like, huh, okay. And then I left it alone until recently I went back again. And then I was just like, I really watched it and I really understood. And remember, that show is always known for folks not really remembering the names. I remember, by this third time, I was like, okay, I know who everybody is at this point. And now all of the dots that weren't necessarily connecting, because now for me, I felt like I understood what this ancestry was at this point, because I feel like I didn't remember where the 2 and 2 was between Dany and Jon Snow. And then like when they reenacted it and I saw Bran's memories and all of that, and I was just like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand why he had to kill her, although he still didn't want the throne. He had to kill her because she was going to turn. Like she had
already turned, was the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she was going to turn even worse. Like this was just the first phase of it, and it was going to get bad. So it was inevitable. Like he had to have killed her. What I didn't understand is why they allowed the Unsullied to keep him and Tyrion in captive. That's the part where I felt like, yes, they became their own people, but why were they able to just leave that? Because at the end of the day, he was still the true king. He's still the true king. Everybody had that knowledge. So help me understand, because Jaime didn't go to jail.
When he killed the king, you mean? To start the...
That's right.
Well, so this whole show, I never watched it from the beginning. Fantasy stuff I enjoyed as a kid, but then as I got older, I'm like, and the Lord of the Rings kind of always just like, those movies are just a bunch of walking.
Lord of the Rings for some reason.
Well, it was just a bunch of walking, and they tricked people with dope battle scenes, but it was just a bunch of walking.
Yeah. See, here we go. That's why I came back. I knew you was gonna say something.
All right, talk about how good fucking Peter Jackson is in his fucking King Kong movie and his fucking. You didn't watch 2 minutes of the Beatles Get Back.
That's different. That don't mean that the Beatles overrated, so that's why I ain't watched that.
I listened to a podcast that basically like broke down Game of Thrones and like reviewed it weekly. I was listening to it. I was following the show without watching it. He always does the Mick Jagger. So I decided to watch. I think like you said that season 6. This is when they had got to the point where they were finally like off book. So the creators Benioff and Weiss had basically like the keys to the kingdom, and I'm like, this show's actually like. I'd watched a bunch of like recap videos to like fully get updated. But I had like known some stuff by listening to this podcast, like the Red Wedding and all this other stuff. But watching, I'm like, oh, this show's pretty good. Then season 7 happens, and that's when they had the first shortened season because they're like, we're prepping for the next season, this to be the finale. And I'm like, I still kind of enjoyed it. But then season 9 was like, oh yeah, this show is just like gone off the rails. But it's hard to say because a lot of times the final season is the worst season because how can you end?
It wasn't bad though. That's the thing. It wasn't bad.
It was pretty bad.
I don't think that it was bad. I think everybody's perception is different. But I feel like for me, it felt like it all made sense until like just that last episode didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like there is no more night. Like you're condemning him to the night watch. Why?
Well, again, like you would say, like why do they allow him and Tyrion to live and then everyone's like, how come Tyrion gets to like basically do a whole
because he made sense. That made sense.
No, yeah, he had his like let me defend myself against all because he knows how to. He's basically Paul Heyman. Like, let me tell you what you need to hear, so I can save my own skin. And then I was like, you know what? He's got some good points. Let's hear him out.
Right. And I feel like John had a pure heart. Like even up until the very end,
much like Ned Stark,
he didn't manipulate himself to be to be the king. He knew that Bran was the right person. He knew that Sansa was the right person. He knew he never wanted the throne.
Yeah.
And he didn't manipulate his way out of just like Tyrion did. Like Tyrion was in jail and basically reformatted government and how It
He's
said,
like, here's what y'all need to do.
do
But
no
he's like,
more.
he's like, let me see right here. If you make this guy the master of coin, and you make this the leader
Right.
of the army,
And nobody is gonna have any kids, and you
and
can't.
he's like, how about I be the king's proxy because he's gonna want to control some bodies and some animals because he
But
can't walk
Don
in.
gets excommunicated to a watch that no longer is needed. Help
Because and that's the thing is like, you know what, there won't be another war, so I could just sit up on the tower and do nothing. Like, you know,
This
yeah,
watch-
go ahead,
this
go
wall
freeze your
is-
ass
half
off.
The wall is gone. Half the wall is gone.
That
So
is
what he
true, yeah.
watching? What is he watching?
Well,
So
it said like, where's Arya going? Like, what's west of Westeros or whatever? Like, where, like to discover new
World.
territory? Yeah, a new world. It's like, but again, House of the Dragon is.
But she doesn't
Daenerys.
want to rule anyway. She doesn't want to rule.
Yeah, oh, no. She just wants to a bunch of people. That's it. Yeah. But no, House of the Dragon is the prequel series, which I'm not really interested in. And I mean, that's the thing. Like right now, Banks and I are like we've been covering Peacemaker, somewhat Euphoria, and then Winning Time. So kind of we don't really have an HBO Max show to keep going. But what's your favorite HBO Max, or I mean HBO show in particular, show of all time? Is it Game of Thrones or is it a?
You know, I feel like Entourage and
Yes, let's go. Oh my! I'm so happy you said that because you know what? I'm like, I haven't done my yearly Entourage rewatch. I didn't do it last year. I did it 2019. I did it 2020. I didn't do it last year, but I'm thinking it's time to go. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So Entourage and Sex and the City were the two shows that were happening at the same time, and Sopranos.
Well, Entourage is male Sex in the City. Yeah.
Right. So those three shows were my introduction to HBO programming. No, the Oz was.
Banks, do you want to talk about Oz?
I don't
Thanks.
remember. I don't remember Oz. I don't remember. No. So I can't even. I'm not even in a position to kind of like talk about it right now.
Yeah, I'm not. I seen that as a shorty when that first came out.
Yeah, like and The Wire, I never finished. That's when I was living.
I mean, you're finishing The Wire by being on BRP, so.
Right.
I had a phone call earlier. I thought I was watching The Wire.
Right, but I think
we live The Wire in Dallas.
But I think it's probably Game of Thrones, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I kind of brought this up to be like, because again, HBO Max is the prestige channel. I think a lot of times
it's the premium streaming service.
I think we as a society will give the shows they put out the benefit of the doubt, whether they're good right away or not. A majority of the time they kind of are, but like, it's like, oh, this show's actually like pretty bad after like season 2, but like I'm going to keep watching because it's HBO. Showtime is really just like, yeah, this is poor man's HBO. And then Epix.
I don't think so. I just think that the content is presented differently. I really think that the mindset they have, it
might be like diet Pepsi to HBO's Pepsi.
No, I think you know what it is.
Because I watched all of Billions except the season that just aired.
Mm-hmm. Billions is an excellent show.
Yeah, well, I mean the guys that made it are phenomenal, and again, it's a good show. But it does seem different compared to like
it is different
from HBO Max. It doesn't have that full polish. Like I said, it's just like it's not as
risky.
Sweet.
So Showtime is skating along the FX folks. Very risky, pushing the envelope a little bit, where HBO and being very rugged about it. So it's intentional. The look is intentional, whereas they're not purposefully trying to take away from the fearless Monarch, because that's FX's Monarch. It's fearless, but they're skating around that edge of being fearless. And HBO is fearless, but it's like nice nasty.
And again, it's everything like looks phenomenal. Whereas like a show on Showtime will either have great writing and shitty direction, or again like actors that aren't good enough to be the star of another show with the star. It kind of in that aspect. Again, like I think Paul Giamatti was John Adams on HBO, but then he's the lead of Showtime. I mean, the lead of Billions on Showtime. After again, same thing. Damian Lewis, he was on A Band of Brothers, and then he's star of Homeland for the first 2 seasons, and then the star of Billions. But but no, I was about to say like Entourage is my favorite HBO show of all time. Insecure would probably be second, even though I didn't finish the last season.
I didn't finish Insecure either. I need to.
But I loved it. But I loved Insecure. And I had to really maybe do a rewatch to finish that. But Watchmen.
Yeah.
The Watchmen.
Watchmen was hard for me.
Oh, you gotta see
it through. It was too dark. I mean, it's DC, so it's dark for me.
True.
Yeah.
That is factual. But I mean, the 2-episode, I think it was back to back of the origin story of Hooded Justice, and then the story of how her and Cal got together is the 2 best episodes back to back the show has ever done. In that, Banks, what's your favorite HBO show of all time? You're muted.
Apologies. I was thrown out by that news by Matt. Apparently, it's a House Party remake coming out this year.
They keep
really?
saying that.
I've been hearing it for so long.
Yeah, and like the HBO Max coming soon, they keep showing like House Party. I'm like, I think they were showing that last year. I'm like, but it's a whole new year and this still hasn't dropped.
Don't drop it. Keep it where it's at.
Why?
Oh, and who was supposed to be in it? Like someone kind of famous, and that like someone I could recognize, but I can't remember the other person.
I'm looking at it right now. Rotimi is in it.
Going back to the books, do you think that they'll make series out of all the books?
Game of Thrones? He better start writing right now. He ain't got too much time.
So that was the whole thing, is he never finished what was supposed to be the finale of the books, and then therefore be the finale of the show. So Benioff and Weiss created what would be the finale to their show more so than the books. And that's what there was. I think House of Dragon is a book, because there were 2 pilots of HBO's Game of Thrones spinoffs, and they picked one over the other. I think one was supposed to be more White Walker centric.
Wasn't it this one?
No, this is mainly about the Targaryens and the dragons.
No. I'm talking about what just passed, because they told the story of the White Walkers. I
forget what it was supposed to. No, it was literally supposed to tell like the story of like the Longest Night or whatever. I think that's what the name of it was, and there might have been one about like years and years after the events of the series. Because they had announced like Jane Goldman, who co-wrote X-Men First Class and the Kingsman films, and they had Naomi Watts, and like they said like that pilot was, and I think George R. R. Martin might have wrote a pilot script too that they didn't pick up. But I think House of the Dragon is by people that were still on the Game of Thrones writing team, so that's why I kind of had more faith in it. And then they got like a solid all-around cast to be in it. And I think people were more into like, we never really saw the dragons be dragons in Game of Thrones until the end, so let's just have a whole series of dragons being dragons.
Dragon.
But HBO was doing their best to capitalize on Game of Thrones. Like, we can mine more content, much like, Mimi, you watch Sons of Anarchy, and I and Fam are watching Mayans right now, because FX was still like, if we're not going to continue Sons of Anarchy, what if we did something relating to Sons of Anarchy, and therefore it being another club in that universe?
So, okay, at the end of at the end of the movie, Sam brings in the book, A Song of Ice and Fire, right? That's
supposed to be a play on like we wrote our own, like he's telling the tale of the events. Like it's that kind of like wink wink. He's Robin in The Dark Knight Rises, like the whole time Joseph Gordon-Levitt was Robin to Christian Bale's Batman. That's what that was supposed to be.
Was that the same book that Brienne was finishing Jaime's story?
No, I think that was just like I think it's just supposed to be like, I think it's just like how will this like the story of that person's life, I think is what that was. The whole
that was the Book of Nights. It was a Book of Nights.
Yeah, the Book of Nights. Yep.
Jaime's story. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I look at this, it's a Game of Thrones, a Clash of Kings, a Storm of Swords, a Feast of Crows, a Dance with the Dragons, the Wind of Winter. So, and then the planned, A Dream of Spring. So here's what I would have I would want them to do. It seems like these are books, right? So like, they just did a Game of Thrones. Instead of going off script, but the series was so enjoyable. What series did they come off script? 6?
6, and that's why the finale of 6 is the Winds of one of the the finale of 5 is the Winds of Winter, because they were basically doing a book a season is what they were trying to do, and they would like kind of cut out some stuff that wasn't as relevant.
Got it.
And that's what we're saying with like Chote's
time. So each season is a book.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. I thought, okay, I have to read.
It's yeah.
I have to read the books. Yeah.
It's that, and they kind of again, because George R. R. Martin, from what I heard, is like very detailed. So that's why the books are so long, because he just kind of goes into the details about here's how the system in the government works, and this, and then again, very much like erotica. So like sex scenes are like very detailed or whatever. But that's what we were saying about Meantime. Like, it's based off autobiography that Jeff Pearlman wrote about the 1980s Lakers. Like, will they cover? I don't know if that book is structured like chapter 1 is 80, chapter 2 is 81, chapter 3 is 84, 80, and so on and so on.
Okay.
But no, that's why they're like, so after the Winds of Winter, they were all caught up with the books. So Benioff and Weiss and their writing staff had to be like, so we just create our own version of how things would end.
Okay. So they have another one planned, A Dream of Spring. So I wonder if HBO will ever capitalize on that. I have one
probably like in 20 years, yeah. I mean, you talk about Harry Potter, they made Fantastic Beasts movies because they were like, we still got to make Harry Potter content because you can't just let this brand name sit here.
Really?
Yeah. They're like, we told all the Harry Potter books, and they're like, there's nothing more we can do, J.K. Rowling? She's like, what did you want to know about like Dumbledore and all that? And they're like, yes, here.
That's what Fantastic Beasts is. It's a spinoff.
Yeah.
I guess my son just reset. He just started watching all the Harry Potter. Maybe I need to do that.
Same. I tried in 2020.
I've never been interested.
Me neither.
I never
tried
finished
in 2020. I said I can't do this.
Again, it was kind of happening as I was growing up. I only read a few books, but I never finished all the movies. And I tried again last year, but I never got to the same point. Like after the 6th one, I just didn't finish the last 2. And the Fantastic Beasts I haven't seen, but that's the whole thing where like it was Colin Farrell as the one character for one movie. They recast him as Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is in trouble, so they recast him as Mads Mikkelsen, which is kind of a cool thing where like a different actor is playing the main villain, like he can change form. I kind of think that's cool, but it's because it was supposed to be a big reveal at the end that it was Johnny Depp, not Colin Farrell, because Colin Farrell is probably like, I'm not going to do more than one of these movies, so like, get me out of here.
Right.
But they weren't books, is what they were. It was based off the monster book that's in the 3rd one. It's about that character, the guy who studied all the monsters in their world. It's his story. They're all original scripts that J.K. Rowling wrote, but she did write the one play, which is years after how the Harry Potter books ends, about his kid.
Right.
And they say they're going to maybe try to make that into a movie or something. But much like the WWE, they're trying to capitalize on all the content they can create and provide to fill HBO Max, to fill, all.
But I think they have a lot. Like, I think HBO Max, out of all of the streaming services, they sit on a very different platform because of how they've designed it. I think they came out first. They were the first to kind of do it. Actually, WWE was like the first to kind of do it. They started with HBO Go, and that didn't really take off as much. And then they took a step back, let the streaming wars begin, and they came back, super strong. And
they had HBO Go, as you could watch.
Hold on. HBO. At some point, I think it was a situation where they had such great content, but they didn't know how to showcase it properly. I think with HBO Max, they took their time and said, we're just going to let everybody do their stuff. But when we come out, we're going to come out stronger and repurpose this whole thing. And that's why, like, at first I was like, what? I'm not paying $14.99 for this. Like, this is crazy. I've got so many other like, I was paying a lot of money. And at the time I was at WWE, and they give you free Peacock. So it's like, or free WWE network
at the time. Yeah.
That was I was like, okay, that's the one thing that I don't have to pay $10 a month for anymore. But then it's like, you couldn't get away from not getting HBO Max. So there's very few streaming services that I pay for the whole year, and HBO Max is one of them. HBO Max, Disney, and Amazon, because it's stuck with my Prime, so that gets paid yearly. But Netflix with the $20 a month.
Yeah, I mean Netflix, and we had talked about the movie
what?
slate. The movie slate that Netflix has given us this year is very C level. But no, what HBO started was HBO Go. You had to be a paying subscriber to the channel
To
have access to go to watch it on the go. They did HBO Now. That's the first time I got HBO, and I'm like, I can finally watch this because that was their. This is how we're going to count our Netflix. Then they folded that to do HBO Max, and it's everything within the Warner Media Now Discovery conglomerate of its shows that were on Cartoon Network, shows that were on TNT, this and that. It's their entire portfolio of content, and that's why Banks and I so early on, even when people were shitting on it, it was a bad app at first. Like you couldn't fast forward or pause to save your life, but it had this rich library of animation, old movies, new content. Again, they did the smart thing in 2021 is movie theaters are kind of opening up. How about we do the first month this movie comes out, you can watch it simultaneously in the theater, or you can stay at home and watch it. And this year with the Batman, they put it in theaters, and then they're like, you know what, you can watch this movie halfway through next month. Ain't no problem. And they built in the Suicide Squad, and they had already announced because James Gunn saw the talent in John, so he was like, I'm going to build a show around this guy, and you can only have HBO Max to watch this show with this guy in it. And then HBO realized we got gold with this, and again they're going to do season 2 of Peacemaker. Euphoria took them 3 years to put Euphoria season 2 out, but in between they had 2 very.
Well, that was because of the pandemic, right?
No, but in the meantime they had 2 very special episodes on HBO Max again to sell it. If you love Euphoria, you have to have HBO Max to watch these 2 episodes that may or may not be connected. They kind of did in a way, but it was also Dream World-esque, and again Game of Thrones is how they're selling it, and they have HBO Max originals and shows that are playing on regular HBO, The Flight Attendant and Peacemaker you can only watch on HBO, and there's the whole thing
which the Flight Attendant is so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, I don't watch, but I think my stepmom does, but that's the type of show she's into. But she was pissed. She's the new Sex. She's the Sex and the City remake is horrible. I hate it.
I love it because it resonated with me, because it's although they're a little bit older within their time, I was kind of feeling young in the space, and was kind of feeling
you're I'm a few years away from this, so I'm
no, legitimately it brought on literally the feelings of getting old and being young in that space. She's a writer, I'm a writer, and things changing. She started podcasting late. I didn't start podcasting late, but I had stopped, and now I'm getting back into it. And just going through those motions. The only thing that for me that didn't make me feel any kind of way was how I look, you know what I mean? But just her going through those things. No, seriously, it's
I know
that people go through, especially women my age. It's you like these young things, but in your mind, it fucks with you. You are getting older. They say age is nothing but a number, but it's reality. It is reality, And for me, it made me understand and realize it's okay to feel the things that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I just have to keep going and have that young mindset. And that was the end of that show. Have the same mindset, going through the changes of your kids, all those things, I related to it for me, and still enduring the fashions in the episode, in the series. So I know a lot of people didn't. I feel like a lot of older women didn't like it. To be honest,
I think my stepmom said she it wasn't just as good TV wise, but I think she understood this is life. So I think she respected in that way. It sucks when you get older and you have all these problems. I think she just didn't like it as a show put together. Because when me and my dad had saw the Batman, we came back and I came and saw that she was watching it, and I'm just oh my god, these women Mainly two of them. Kristen Davis still looks pretty good, but I'm just like, sheesh. And Sarah Jessica Parker already looked rough to begin with. So I'm just like, I mean,
Jesus.
Yeah, bro. I remember they used to say that back in the day. They used to be like, bruh, what's his name? Matthew Broderick? That's you, bro?
Ferris Bueller. Yes.
Well, you know the thing about her, the reason why I respect her when it comes to that piece of it, because I didn't like that Samantha wasn't a part of that. And I think as they went through, I think we saw a lot of shit. Like, she should have been a part of it because she was an integral part of it. And I won't be surprised. She was involved in a lot of things, but there was beef between them. And nobody really knew what that beef was. And I think Sarah Jessica Parker probably felt like, oh, it's Sex and the City, she's going to come back. And when she really didn't come back, I think that now I feel like if there's a season 2, she might come back in season 2 because
she
they
went
just
to
kept
do How I Met Your Father, where she basically plays like a character that would be, was she Charlotte or who was she?
Relax.
She basically plays like a alternate version of that on How I Met Your Father. She plays grown up Hilary Duff, who kind of seems like.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen.
It's not that. It's not as good. If you liked How I Met Your Mother like I did, it's a lesser spinoff.
But
which
wait
is
a
the worry
minute.
about.
Huh? This is what I keep thinking about. You said getting older. Mimi, ain't you 23?
Oh, here we go.
I said I ain't know that was old.
Here when he does like, all right, he's doing the Cody Rhodes, shake the hands, kiss the babies. You know, what do you mean?
I'll tell you after.
You 25. I know.
Slick said he didn't care. Like
glasses. Let me tell you something. Glasses.
Oh my God! But yeah, so the one thing I respect about her is she will not get plastic surgery. She doesn't want it. She wants, it is what it is. She wants to just age. She won't get any fillers. She won't do any of it. And that's the one thing I respect about her, where she's really showing her.
That Roman Reigns is okay to fix his teeth.
Hey, don't say that because I need to get my fixed, boy.
I'm just kidding.
How does that correlate with that?
I'm just saying,
you know someone. It's him.
No, I'm just not.
What?
The biggest player hater of all time.
No, I just wanted to throw some because again, me being a big Roman Reigns fan. Again, I said before, like if I had the money,
the women, not just me,
these shits right away. If I had the money, I told her that right. Like that's because we knocked Damian Priest. Like, does he not see Roman Reigns? Like, that's the template. Like, go do what he did, and you will look 10 times better.
Bro, veneers cost, bro. No. That's a couple racks.
Damian Priest will not look 10 times better.
If he had new teeth?
No.
He'll at least look better than before.
It's a conversation we have in here. Lightning, brother, lightning.
No, not at all. I think that when God created Roman Reigns,
so
he special mold. That was a special mold.
Y'all gonna have me start hating on this dude. I'll be hated. I'll be seeing the one timeline. I'm like,
why hate on him? Why?
It don't matter. He got hair. I don't care about none of that. I don't care because he got a perm. What that mean to me?
He don't got perm. That's natural waves.
I do know when Mimi had said
in '96, I had them too.
I respected him the most when Mimi had pointed this out when at WrestleMania he was in the ring and he looked at his wife and he said like, "I love you."
No, because he been going through peer pressure. He had to let all y'all know. Hey,
no, I say I respect anyone who like publicly says that I respect anyone.
People say I love you and be in the bathroom. Sorry.
No. They would have caught him by now. He got 5 kids. He got 5 kids. He better not mess up. He gonna be wrestling till he's 67. Child support gonna be hurting.
Okay.
That finger gonna take a minute. He gonna be 66. That finger gonna be going up like this. Boy, that child support will hurt his soul.
He said he'll be the new Undertaker to get. Look at what that man was doing.
He do that. Mess around on his wife. She get him for child support. He for sure gonna have a bad hit.
And you know what? I love them too. I love the fact that like they're hood, like they're ghetto.
Their country.
Like, oh my god!
No, it's the difference. They country as hell.
I love it.
And
like,
the twins.
What? Yo, Jay is so like reckless and so like, oh, I love it. And they've not changed
Alabama.
From day one, they have not changed. and he had to suppress it. He had to suppress it for so many years, and now he's not suppressing it. You see it based on how he speaks, and you saw a little glimpse of it when we have this Roman roundtable. I'm gonna really like get into it. But that man he was always the way he was. Always
just,
on the streets.
Yeah, the hate is fueling more of me. Y'all done made this. You done made this a dedication.
Jay was always the best.
He was always for the streets
because he had and the reason I could tell is because Jimmy has the rounded face, and Jay just has like his face is so sharp
what
right
we
around
doing here on a Sunday, brother.
No, I'm saying, no, but he has this
private twins. Come on, bro.
No, because people will be like, I can't tell which one is which. So again, who is you? Who is you? So like, I can clearly tell which one is which. Like,
it's eternal, but it's a storyline.
One of them like Henny, the other
I know.
like
I'm just saying, but
That's
again, Jay always had that look of like the wild, like he's got a wild look in his eye, like in the first.
Antonio.
When shit goes down,
he was always the quiet one too. Like
he's one who would be like, say it again. Like he's the Mark Briscoe of like.
And he was always the one that was always getting hurt too. That's another thing. Jay was always getting hurt, and Jimmy had to kind of like endure.
But then Jimmy had the worst injury, and then look what happened.
Look what happened, because I think they know each other's strengths, and I think Jimmy is good. Like Jimmy was always the mouthpiece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think
that was clear.
And the fact that, again, I told you this on the side, I will always Roman Reigns could do no wrong in my eyes.
What if he left his wife for a white woman?
He brought his people up.
What if Roman Reigns left his wife for a white woman?
It doesn't matter. He brought his family up. Like, I don't care about any of that. He brought his family up, and as long as he takes care of his kids,
you heard it here first.
Now, if it's somebody else,
y'all be like, take care of your 5 kids, and make sure that your family is taken care of, because you are the tribal chief. That's what I care about. Your love life, I don't care about that.
All right.
If he's smart, he ain't got to worry about that. Just stay. It's cheaper to keep her, brother. Stay right here.
5.
If you feeling temptation, go ahead, sign up for them OnlyFans. That's what you need to do.
5.
That's what I'm saying. Go ahead, get on them sites, bro. Leave them other women alone, boy.
5.
On that note, let's wrap it up.
Wait, they got a sprinter. Because they got 5 kids.
He moving like Davis.
That's a lot of expenses.
He moving like Davis in a couple years.
I believe in condoms too much to do that. Nope.
I'm out.
I told you that yesterday. Nope. But
that's on right. You. That's on you, brother. Anyhow, on that note, thank you all for being here.
What was your favorite HBO Max show? You didn't even say. What
Wrap
was
it up.
Or HBO show?
Hey man, Insecure.
All time.
Insecure.
That's because he's just LA. He knows they actually filmed in LA, and like that's actually how people in LA talk.
Are you gonna take us to the
and they live too
next year? Are you
gonna do what?
You gonna take us to the dunes?
No.
Why?
Because
it's gentrified.
It's
gentrified. They're gonna call 12.
Really?
Yeah. Now if we go to the east side.
Don't forget they covered that during the show when she's like, "Welcome to Iwood," and she's like, "Iwood" instead of Inglewood.
I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't watch. What is it? 4 seasons? It's 4 seasons, right?
Yeah. 5.
Well, I stopped at season 2, so I have to go back.
I think that's when they just started because that episode she can't keep her apartment. That's when Lawrence comes back and he's like,
yeah, that whole season, yeah.
He's right up there with Ricky Tan.
Stop it! You know what? Keep going.
No, we it's some spots. You feel me? My cousins and them stay on the east side, but that's off air to conversation. You feel me? Shouts out to them. Otherwise, not The Wire #2.
Did you even watch The Wire? Or are you just saying that?
No, I like The Wire.
Okay,
it ain't better than Snowfall, but I like it.
Again, West Coast bias.
Exactly. #3, 6 Feet Under.
Big Love.
Yeah, #4.
Oh, my parents love Big Love. Yeah.
Yeah, #4. The Sopranos.
You didn't watch True Blood, Mimi? I'm kind of surprised that you didn't reference that or.
Nah, I couldn't. I don't do vampires, bro.
I don't like supernatural. The only supernatural thing that I got into was what was that? What was the Diaries? What? No,
The
not
Vampire
Werewolf?
Diaries.
no, the other one, the one that was with
Werewolf?
you know what I'm talking about, the big one with this Kristen Stewart and all of them.
Oh, Twilight.
Oh, that's his pop stuff. He liked that movie.
My dad, Big Mike loves the first Twilight. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
it's
all.
a
Like,
good movie. That's all he says.
Twilight,
It's like it's a good movie. That's what he said. Like over
It
and over.
was.
Like,
It
shut
was
up.
good. It was good. It was good.
No, it's not. It's dog shit.
No, all right, tell him. Call him, but tell him. He was like, you watch Fast and Furious.
I said that's what I'm
That's
saying. You like the Fast and the Furious.
Just
So I'm like,
talking about
those
Roman
are
Reigns.
better. But we're wrapping it up.
I didn't say The Sopranos was 5.
I never see again. People give me shit because I never finished The Sopranos. I prefer watching the movies that it was inspired by instead. So
Hey man,
That
listen.
movie that was inspired by it sucked.
no, I'm saying like no, not the movie, not the movie within the universe. I'm saying like Goodfellas, The Godfather.
Mm.
That's what The Sopranos wanted to be, was all the Scorsese movies, all the Coppola movies about the mob and all that. Like I prefer watching those than watching the show that's basically trying to do an homage to that.
But I don't think that's what they were trying to do, Dre.
They literally cast Spider as like Christopher Moltisanti is Spider in Goodfellas. Come on.
You stunner and prick.
Yes. Come on.
Yep, they were telling a story about a specific
About
person.
the guys that their time had passed because the mob had got cracked down on. Yeah, I know all that, but again, The Sopranos, it's good, but I'm not into it.
Mhm.
Maybe one day I'll find.
I think you should try it.
I've tried like 2 times and
Yo, Trucker like a True Blood is hilarious. I don't know why.
no, that makes sense. Yeah, again, True Blood is very, like Game of Thrones, a lot of like fucking and all that. Yeah,
My sister used to watch that. I used to go past her room like, bro, what is you watching?
Right. It's a lot, especially when you're not ready for it. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, they got shorty.
you have a
next
kid, so
in.
you have to do the thing where like you have to mute it at certain times and like.
And I love period drama. Like that period is one of my favorite, like Roman Empire-ish type stuff. I love that stuff. Back in the day, Elizabeth the First and all of that. I love that.
Oh, you're just like my mom. Yeah.
But good gracious, like, can we tone down the ancestry and the
Hey, that's their history though.
It is.
You feel me? I just say that.
Game of Thrones is a fictional show.
You guys
It's a
like-
fictional world.
Is it?
It makes me want
It
to
has dragons, Banks. So we're not going to do a dragons are real. We're not going to do that.
They
Where's
are real.
Dragon? Where's Dragon? Where is he?
Draymond, he looked like a dragon.
Not Drake. All right. You know what?
All right.
Where can people find you on social media? Mimi. I ain't going to
Y'all
this
know
man
where to
keep
find
going.
me. Y'all know where to find me.
That is true. Yeah.
BRP.
Thank-
You feel me? BRP
Local
50
Fox
coming
Spaces.
Rolling in
soon.
the universe of Twitter.
Yeah. Shouts out to the man that almost shook up Davis. You feel me? He be in the Twitter spaces.
He's talking
Oh,
about Drew.
Y'all did a Twitter Spaces?
No, I'm talking about
No,
the
he's
one
talking
you.
about
Are we talking
he's
about
talking
Drew?
Yeah.
about Drew. I actually have to hit up Drew. Not this week. I gotta see how Double or Nothing plays out. I think he'd be good to talk about CM Punk and AEW on White Noise. I
Oh,
gotta hit him up.
man.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
want me to go to sleep? Hear nothing about that bomb? Yeah. That's why. That's the real finisher watching his matches. Bomb.
But no, I too see. I listened to the Spaces on Friday night, and once again, you had told the story of your son crying during SummerSlam 2014. I'm like, leave the boy alone. And then you said something about like Roman Reigns. He popped my cherry, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna leave this space right now. Like, I legit was like, nope, I'm out of here.
Can I just
Shouts out to Ellis, because Ellis said, like, if I had been there when them kids was crying, I would have done something. I would have done.
Yo, let me tell you, when my son cried when John Cena caught that beating, like when your kid cries, when you have kids, when your kid cries, yo, we slid. When your kid cries, like it really hurts. Like, I don't think he's here. John,
Yeah.
yo, when he got his heart broken in like sophomore year when he got his heart broken in sophomore year, and he recently got his heart broken like in January.
Hey, Mom, you telling everything. This ain't behind the paywall.
He was walking around here like,
This ain't Red Table Talk.
I'm gonna edit this out.
I took him to school and I'm like, what is your problem? He was like, don't you understand? Like, me and such are not back to like, and he started crying. And my son is a football player. And I've always taught him to keep his emotions out because I was a textbook mom and like when he was growing up, boys have the highest risk of suicide. So I wanted him to always talk about his emotions and just be super open. I don't care. You can cry about anything. I'm your mama. I'm always going to protect you. Don't worry about how you feel. So he will cry on the field. He will be upset. He'll be a man. But if he's truly upset about something, he has no qualms. He will cry in front of his friends. He does not care. So when I see my grown son crying after having his heart broken, or watching his favorite get pummeled and him crying.
Well, at the time, he was probably
you feel it in your heart.
Been around 10 years old, right? I think you and I took to go to store because
my version of that. It was 9.
Yeah,
seeing them kids cry. I ain't kidding.
My version of that was I was 10 years old when Edge cashed in winning the bank again on John Cena, and I looked at my dad like, you can't do that.
And that's how kids were licking.
I don't think I cried, but I legit was like upset because my dad ordered New Year's Revolution, and I got to watch the pay-per-view. Like John Cena survives Elimination Chamber. I'm like, yes, and then Edge comes out.
Did you see that one kid? Did you see that one kid where his father had to hold him because he was just so
the crazy thing? Like kids, that made me realize. Maybe this is a future episode on Black Wrestling, but like, if you were a kid now, who would you root for? Because I'm like, would I really root for RK Bro if I was like 10 years old right now watching wrestling?
Yeah, because they smoking dope. That's why.
But still, I mean, yeah.
Yo, imagine Matt Riddle being your OG if you were a kid.
That's why everyone's looking like they cried over them. Like
Matt Riddle and Randy Orton being your OG.
Randy Orton is my OG, and I love him.
I mean, it's this man's OG too. You will defend Randy Orton to the nth degree.
Is
bam, nigga.
Matt Riddle, the jury's still out.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't care what he's getting. I don't care about any of that. In my opinion, I feel like Matt Riddle, that ain't it. He will not sustain that luster that's going on right now. The only person that's close to.
All right, Antonio, get the fuck out of here.
He's right.
What you say?
Hold on, I got you. He right.
You know why? Because he's doing the nice to meet you. I'm Cody Rhodes. Nice to meet you. I'm Cody Rhodes.
Facts. That's y'all future Universal Champion. I keep trying to tell y'all.
I'm getting the fuck out of here now. Nope. You can follow the pod on Twitter at Davis. I mean, that's not I'm saying at the BVD pod on Twitter. Banks versus Davis on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Follow me on Twitter at Davis, aka Drip. Instagram, Davis Home DC. You can follow Banks on Instagram and Twitter at I am not Banks. Both
Don't
names.
follow me. You weird if you follow me.
You, yeah.
I don't do nothing.
Stay subscribed. Stay tuned next week. What will we doing next week? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Top Gun Maverick is coming out, so we'll be talking about that.
Man.
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick is coming on. Obi Kenobi's coming on.
Oh yeah, I still got to finish Book of Boba Fett. I got to finish
a bunch
of shows.
No, you don't.
I got to finish that too.
But Mimi, it was great to talk with you here.
Thank you for having me.
It's always great to talk with you, but I can leave that boy. Stop telling that John Cena Brock Lesnar story. He's just a boy.
I'm adding all that out.
He's a mercenary. He just wants here for the money. I was like,
so he was smart. He was smart. I'm like, how do you? Are you reading military?
Kid is a genius.
Tom Singer comes to work every day. How dare he?
Facts.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like, would I root for Randy Orton or Matt Riddle if I had access to the internet to like look them up now?
No. Like, bro, who would like, RK Bro is fire. It's a snake with a hat and a scooter, bro.
So
I need him to come back and give me that WWE evil where he goes to that place and brings out the.
Now, Banks sent that to me. Like, what the fuck is this man doing? Like, what is he?
he had fun. Great. I'm glad you have fun. Now have some fun being evil and wrecking somebody.
He needs to bring back the Vato mustache and goatee combo and just be like, orale.
I don't like them.
But we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Hey, man. No more Roman Reigns talk.
Drop it, I don't want to talk about it.
Drop it, hell. I want to hear about this, homie.
I said forget